Did we get anything right?
Well, I don't know about you specifically, but I think my parents did a pretty good job. Taught us work ethic. My dad always made me go outside with him and fix fence or do something with our show animals or cows or horses or whatever we had. We always had a whole bunch of animals. My mom, take off her shoe in the middle of Walmart and whip your ass. Taught you how to be polite, respectful. Again, you got your ass beat if you didn't. And I think the most important thing that they taught me is that there's 4 of us. I'm the only girl. I think the most important thing they taught us is that we'd always have a place that's home with them. Both my parents had been on their own since they were about 18 years old. And they struggled a lot. They had a lot of hard times, and they had to literally pick themselves up by the bootstraps and keep going, and they didn't have a choice. They didn't have anything to fall back on. They didn't have anybody who was going to come save them. They had to do it themselves. And they always made sure that we knew, and still know, that we always have a place that's home. I'm 32 years old, and if I called my parents right now and said, hey, I'm hungry and I don't have money, I'd say, what the hell do you mean you're hungry? We got food in the pantry. No matter what time of day, what hour, for what reason, I could call them and they'd say, well, you know the door code. Door's unlocked. Yours, however long you need it. So they always made sure that we knew that we were loved. Even though if you cross that line, you can get your ass whipped. They loved us. And they were never going to let us fall on our faces because they knew how it felt. I think in some ways that's maybe been an issue. Maybe. Maybe I've taken that for granted a time or two. My parents were great about that because they didn't have that growing up. They didn't have that into adulthood. And still, they don't have it. So yeah, I don't know about you. I don't know what you did right or wrong. But I know my parents did the best they could. They struggled a lot, and they never let us see it. They never showed us one time that they couldn't make something happen. We got not whatever we wanted. Any sports, anything within reason that we wanted. Oh my God, my parents would have worked 4 jobs just to make sure we had everything we needed and all the fun experiences as kids. And I appreciate that. I never knew how hard it probably was for them until I grew up and have cows of my own to feed. And animals of my own to feed, and it's expensive, on top of feeding kids. And to have 4 of them, and we always had what we needed, that's a lot for... That says a lot about my parents and their heart and their love for us and what they were willing to do to protect us, to make sure we had the best life we could have. My mom, even now, she's got a whole laundry list of health problems. And if some 7-foot tall freaking backwoods hillbilly came up and said something cross to me, she would not let her rheumatoid arthritis get in the way. She'd beat the shit out of him with her shoe, whatever, her purse, whatever the hell she could. But my mama's got my back, and so has my daddy. And I've always known that. So, if they did anything, they did a lot of things right. But if they got one thing on point, it's knowing that we'd never have to be alone. We always had a home. We always had parents that loved us, cared for us, would be there for us when we needed them. And even now as a parent, when I need to make a decision with my kids, or I get frustrated with them or act out in a certain way, my parents' voice is what I hear in the back of my head. And if I can't hear in the back of my head, they're on the telephone.
This question is for anybody who has a parent who is...
So I don't know if this can attribute to all Gen Xers, but I can give you my experience. I am a younger millennial. I'm 32. My parents were Gen X. They're in their 50s. I think they're like 57. I really think the secret is they generally wanted me around. They generally enjoyed my company from age 0 to 32 because I still have a great relationship with them. They live just a few blocks down. And by the way, they didn't move near me. I moved near them. And it's not an unhealthy relationship. Like, I'm not desperately attached to my parents. Like, I have my own life, my own hobbies. I do my own thing. And they have their own life and their own hobbies, and they do their own thing. But they were great communicators. They never pushed me to be something I was not. They always supported me even when I chose failure. They told me to stick things out. Like, if I was in gymnastics or something, I had to finish out gymnastics. I couldn't just quit in the middle of doing it. I had to finish it out even if I was having a rough day or bad day or whatever, which helps with my conviction. But they allowed me to go, yeah, that's not my goal. Like, that's not my thing. And I'm happy that they never pressed me to be a miniature version of themselves in their failed dreams, because my mom has always had this phenomenal outlook that she may have quit at something, but she didn't fail at it. And she's enjoyed just about every aspect of her life. My dad has this childlike sense of wonder who he finds joy in remembering how to be a kid, even when it's rough being an adult. So, I don't know. I enjoy my parents' company. I have a healthy relationship with them. My kids, and by the way, I'm chopped liver now compared to when my kids were born. I just was like, no. When they became grandparents, they're like, oh, this is the greatest thing that has ever happened to me. And they've said it straight to my face, and I'm totally fine with that because they see my kids a lot, and that makes me really happy. And they are my village, and which is a very rare thing many people do not have these days. And they are a third space that I can go to, and I am just very, very happy to have them as my parents. So I don't know. I feel like communication and the general want to be around me. So.
Question is for anybody who has a parent who is Gen X like me.
So this person is asking, right, what did my Gen X parents do right that your parents as Gen X did not? And I can make a few points with this. One of the things I can say my parents, my mother, because I don't really have a father, he's not in my life, my mother did right is raising me. And what do I mean by that? Things I mean by that are really, really showing that they care about me, right? Showing that she cares about me. I've heard a lot of stories of Gen X parents. The parent says, get out of the house, early morning, and don't come back till dark. I don't want you back in here until dark. Go do whatever the hell you want to do, and don't come back till dark, right? I'm not, as a Gen X parent, I'm not, a parent of Gen X, I'm not concerned about you. I'm not really thinking about you during the day. I'm doing my work and you're just out somewhere off in town in the ether. You could be doing God knows what else, stealing bikes, going to parties, doing drugs, and all that matters for me is that you just stay out of my hair until it's dark, right? Come back when it's dark. You'll be back when you'll be back. My mom never had to worry about that with me because she never let me do that stuff. She never let me just run rampant through the town until sundown, right? Caring about me, raising me, instilling values in me, right? Instilling values in me, teaching me life lessons, things my Nana, her mom, never did. That is one big thing y'all did right. Y'all raised your kids and y'all instill positivity in them and good things and self-esteem. And also one more thing, telling your kids, I love you, is one thing my mom has always done for me that I know y'all do, and that is another thing y'all do right. So, there you go.
This question is for anybody who has a parent who is Gen X. Like,
my mom was an early Gen Xer, and I am a late millennial. And I'll say that my mom really struggled at the parenting. She did. And so did her mom. My mom had me young, and she had a lot of trauma, and she was a single parent. And, you know, it was a struggle. It was. But even she did things right. And I also want to say that my mom is a lot different than she was when she was raising me too. And I think that's something that we don't talk about a lot, is that we need to give people room to also improve as they age. You know, my mom was not ready to be a parent when she was a parent. And there are a lot of Gen Xers that were not ready to be parents. And that's something that happened. And they just did the best that they could. I know that my mom tried, and she did a lot of things well, and I'm going to list a couple of them. My mom made sure that I could read and write and do basic math before I entered into elementary school. Now, some of that was me. I was very smart at a young age, and I loved to learn. But, you know, my mom also took that time, and she really tried when I was really little. I think things got progressively hard as she had to do things more and more by herself, and as she experienced more loss as I was growing up. But so, two of the main things that I liked a lot that I would take forward is how she had my back when it came to the rest of the world, and also how adventurous she was. So when I was young, and I was called into school, like in middle school, to have a meeting with my mom about being bullied and about my school abilities and stuff. I was basically told I was being bullied because of the way I dressed, and that I didn't hang out with the bullies, and I talked to the adults, and that I was never going to get better at spelling, and I shouldn't even try, and things like that. And my mom pretty much told them to F off, like really extremely, like just like told them to F off. And I really appreciated that, because a lot of people don't have that kind of backing from their family. I was weird, and now I understand why I was so weird. I'm autistic, I have ADHD, I also have dyslexia, which explains the trouble with the spelling. And my mom didn't make me feel bad about that. She didn't make me feel bad about the strange ways that I dressed and the strange little habits that I had. And there's a lot of other areas where she fell way short, and I would definitely change. That's one of the things that I would want to take forward. That being like, don't you mess with my kid. Don't you mess with my kid energy. Okay? And the other thing is, we did a lot of fun things. Now, would I have preferred to have somebody sitting down and doing more homework with me, which she did do, but like more? Would I have preferred somebody who just had a more stable living environment, who communicated in healthier ways? The list could go on. Yes, I would have preferred that in many ways, but I also got to go on cool adventures. And it was all through the year. I got to do really fun things. And there's like a freedom. I was allowed to like play in a wild kind of way. Maybe I would like do a balance with that, a little bit more safety and caution. But like I still got to be a kid. And like have room to make mistakes. And I think sometimes with the younger generation, because we weren't parented, some parents like go and overcompensate now, where they're like, I'm going to control the situation so much that a kid doesn't even get a chance to try things. And I think that kids need a chance to try things safely. you know? So that's something that I would continue on. I remember one particular thing that I loved was my mom would dress up as a pirate and say that she was Pirate Bluebeard, and she would actually dig up in the yard of this place we lived for a little bit, and bury stuff in the ground, and then make a map, and we would do a big giant treasure hunt. And that was so fun, and it's kind of irresponsible too, like to dig up a yard, like just to bury stuff for your kids, you know, but it was fun. And I think I want that fun, and I want that, like, kind of like, don't mess with my kids, but I also want to do things more stably and more responsibly. And part of that too, I think, is if I manage to have kids, because I'm getting older, if I manage to have kids, I'm in a better position to do that than my mom. Like, I've already done over 14 years of therapy. Literally, I've done over 14 years of therapy. I also have a degree in psychology. Spoiler, people are my hyper-focus. My autistic hyper-focus. But I'm in a better position than my mom was to start a family. And that's on purpose. I chose to make sure that I did not have kids early because I saw my grandma struggle and I saw my mom struggle. And I wanted to break that generation thing that we would do, have kids young and then struggle. And that was important to me. So I want to say to you this. If you've watched this video, thank you, because I'm sure you're going to get a lot of videos. But I want to say this to you, and to anybody else who wants to see this answer. I want to say this to you, that when it comes to parenting, nobody does it perfectly. No one. And you probably did the best that you could, considering the things that you've experienced yourself. And that doesn't excuse all the bad things. If you've hurt people, and they're allowed to feel the things that they feel, but you're also allowed to move on at some point. And that doesn't mean that they don't get to have their feelings. They do. They can have their feelings as long as they need to have their feelings. But that doesn't mean you have to carry around the guilt and the shame for the rest of your life. At some point, you could say to yourself, I tried, and I wish I could have done better. And look at yourself now today and think, if I was starting right now, what would I do different? What would I change? Because odds are you probably would do things a lot different. And you'd probably do things a lot better. And know that you're not the same person that you were then. And that's a difficult thing to hold. And for the younger people and like the people who had parents that like didn't do things perfectly, I want to say that you are entitled to your feelings for as long as you want to have them. But your parents also get to, and that doesn't mean they can rewrite history, but they get to try to move on and be better people now, if that's what they're trying to do. That doesn't mean they didn't do the stuff in the past. It just means that they don't have to act like they're guilty all the time. You know what I mean? Like they also deserve a chance to be better people and to be proud of being better people, because it takes a lot of courage to look at yourself and to say, I fucked up and I want to be a better person, and to do that work. It really does. It's not easy. And, it's a complicated situation, but I think that no matter how much you've messed up, most of the time, there's some good. It's just that your kids might not be the ones that are able to acknowledge that in this moment. I hope that helps you feel a little bit better.
early 20s. And my question is, what did we do right?
So I was raised by parents that are now in their 50s, late 50s mother. They did a lot right. I mean, shit, they raised us to, be compassionate and empathetic and realize, some people are struggling and we should support them and we can do better. There's nothing wrong with growing up and realizing, hey, I don't want to pass this along to my kids. And my parents showed me I can do better. They can do better than their parents, and I can do better than mine. I think that's pretty cool.